السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome to another episode of the call of Ibrahim alayhi salam, where we learn the rituals of Hajj. The call of Ibrahim alayhi salam, he called, and the call of Ibrahim was accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's why people, thousands and millions, they pour every year with their hearts attached to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to perform the rituals of Hajj. They follow the example of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam without asking questions, why this, why that, just submitting themselves in the dhikr and the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the tawheed, the oneness of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We stopped by the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, performing the 4 actions in it, which is throwing the jamrah of Al-Aqaba, slaughtering, shaving or shortening, and making tawaf and sa'i, and then going back to Mina with all of the exceptions and all of these things. Then ideally people will go back to Mina, because spending the nights in Mina of the days of At-Tashriq is an obligation. It's a wajib that has to be observed. And once people are there, then the 11th and the 12th and the 13th, for those who did not make ta'ajjul, they were not in haste and left. And what needs to be done, or the matters to be done while people are in Mina, the main thing of course is throwing the 3 jamras. So on the 10th, only one jamra was thrown, which is Jamratul Aqaba, the last one, which is closer to Mecca. And then the 11th and the 12th. And for those who stay to the 13th, then it's the 3 jamra. The small one, the middle one, and the Aqaba, all of them to be thrown, each one 7 pebbles. And the pebbles can be taken from Mina or from Muzdalifah. If a person did from Muzdalifah, there is no harm. So the Sheikh rahimahullah, he says here with regards to the Jamarat, when the time starts is after Zawal. The Prophet ﷺ in the 11th and the 12th and the 13th of the Hijjah, he would wait for the sun to go to the other side of the hemisphere. That means this is the time of Dhuhr. Then he would proceed to throw the Jamrah before praying Dhuhr. And if the Prophet ﷺ was permissible for him or for us to throw it before the Zawal, he would have done it before, but he would wait till the time of Dhuhr and he would throw the Jamrah after the time of Dhuhr starts. And this is an issue that always come up every year. But again, ideally, this is what a person do on the 11th and the 12th, and if they stay the 13th. Starting with the small Jamrah, 7 pebbles, and then the 7 in the middle one, and then 7 in the last one. And each one raising the hand, and afterwards, after the first one, the small one, to face the Qibla and to make dua, and to go to the right as the Prophet ﷺ did after the Jamrah, and to face the Qibla and to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he made a long dua ﷺ, and then to proceed from the same position to throw the middle Jamrah, where the Jamrah is on left side, if ideally again. Then after that to go all the way to the left and to face the Qibla and to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, long dua, and then go from the same position to throw the last Jamrah, and then after the third one there is no dua, and that is to leave. So after throwing the Jamrat, and the days of At-Tashriq are days of eating and drinking and the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the Prophet ﷺ said. The whole day, the only thing that people would do physically as far as the rituals of Hajj is to throw the 3 Jamrah. And the rest of the day, they can make dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, listen to lectures in Masjid al-Khif, for example, reciting Quran, doing acts of worship, and not of course ruining what they did in Hajj with backbiting and arguing and things of that nature. After 2 days, for those who wants to make ta'ajjul, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly stated in the Quran, there is no harm on them, there is no sin for them. وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ فِي أَيَّامٍ مَعْدُودَاتٍ, to make remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in counted days. فَمَنْ تَعَجَّلَ فِي يَوْمَيْنِ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ وَمَنْ تَأَخَّرَ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ لِمَنِ اتَّقَى. Whoever leaves after the 12th, but with the condition they threw the Jamrah, the 3 of them, there's no sin on them. And whoever stays for the 13th, there's no sin on them. And it's best to stay, of course, as the Sheikh mentioned, because that's what the Prophet ﷺ did, and it's more rewards. And again the question comes, can I make tahajjud so that I stay in Mecca and to pray in the Haram? You can. There's no sin if you do so. There's no harm whatsoever. Nobody should forbid someone from doing that, thinking that this is evil, as stated clearly in the Quran. But if you're asking of what is best, is definitely to stay in Mina for the third day and to get more rewards by staying in Mina. And for the ta'ajjul, for those who leave after the 12th, they throw the jamrah and then they should leave Mina before sunset. If they're busy leaving and sun sets while they're still in Mina, there's no harm on them, there's no fidya, there's no ransom or anything of that nature. The Sheikh also mentioned that it's permissible for the guardian of the child, and we talked about the child before, that he's not able to throw the jamrah. He's very small, right? He's not able to throw the jamrah. Then the guardian of the child then to throw on his behalf and to throw on himself for himself first and then for his child. But doesn't have to go the 3 jamrat, the small and the middle and the major one for himself, and then he goes back and then he do it again for the child. No. He goes to the small one, he throw the 7 jamrah for himself, and then he throw the 7 jamrah for his child. And then he goes to the middle one, he throw the 7 for himself, and then the 7 for his child. Then he goes to the last one, 7 for himself and 7 for his child. And the same thing if a person is throwing on someone else's behalf, to do it in such a way. And if people are not able to throw the jamrah, which is now it's made easy by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they should do it themselves. If they're not able, they can wait till the last day and do it for all of the 3 days, as we just heard now. Or if they're not able to do it, then someone else should do it on their behalf. But they should not leave, of course, or go back home and let someone else do it for them. So this is, again, all of the types of exceptions. And with exceptions, we should definitely ask the people of knowledge. And as the Sheikh, rahimahullah, he said, a person, it is not permissible to let someone else do all of the actions of Hajj on your behalf. Throwing the jamrah, yes, if you're not able to do so. But nobody is allowed to make someone else do the tawaf on their behalf, or the sa'i on their behalf, or standing in Arafah on their behalf, or spending the night in Muzdalifah on their behalf. This is something that a person has to do it himself physically. And when it comes to someone is not able to do something, we have to differentiate between someone is missing something and is sinful, and someone he missed something when he's not sinful because he was not able to do it. And there's always expiations and way to fix it. The thing that cannot be fixed is the day of Arafah. And the day of Arafah, if a person, again as we said, it's in the 9th of the Hijjah, a person has to be there to sunset. But what if someone was not able to enter Arafah till sunset of the 9th of the Hijjah? Is the Hajj is over? No. If a person still goes to Arafah before the Fajr, adhan of Fajr of the 10th of the Hijjah, when people are in Muzdalifah, say someone was late. If he goes to Arafah during the night, yes, during the night, and he stand there for a minute or so, and then he goes to Muzdalifah, as stated by the Prophet ﷺ, his Hajj is complete. This is not someone that would do that as a choice, but if it happened, this is a way out for the person so that he does not miss Hajj. If the adhan of the Fajr of the 10th of the Hijjah is made and a person did not go to Arafah, that means he had missed Hajj. He has to make up the Hajj the next year, because Al-Hajj Arafah, as the Prophet ﷺ, he said. The Sheikh rahimahullah, he also says, when it comes to, you can have someone else to throw on your behalf the jamrah, but not the tawaf and not the standing of Arafah and so on, because he mentioned a principle that each and every one of us should really hold fast to it, to understand these types of rulings and to understand what is meant by bid'ah, innovations in the deen. That al-ibadat tawqifiyya, the ibadat, we are forbidden from doing any ibadah unless we get to know that the Prophet ﷺ did it, unless we know that this is part of our deen. So this is how we learn these manasik, these rituals of Hajj. Is not up to our opinions and our likings, but it's according to the way of the Prophet ﷺ. Then after that, he mentioned that if a person, again, to throw on oneself and then on one's behalf without going back and forth more than one time. And if they would have done it on themselves first, the 3 jamarat, and then go back to do it on someone else's behalf, it would have been reported to us, and they did not do it like this, and they did not report it for us in such a way. So this is with regards to Ayyam al-Tashriq. and the 10th of the Hijjah, and the actions to be done, and the remembrance of Allah, and the obedience of Allah, and making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what is best for the person. The next chapter is about ad-dam, or the sacrifice, for the one that is making tamattu' and the one that is making Hajj Qiran. But we'll talk about that inshallah ta'ala next time. And there are certain things that we need to recap towards the end of the episodes inshallah ta'ala with Hajj. So we'll do that inshallah ta'ala next time. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك